Hey guys, tonight I want to talk to you about the possibility of this rally being a bit of a bull trap, both fundamentally and technically. But then I also want to talk about the possibility of this being more so a bear trap. So to start off, I'll go back to the weekly Bitstamp chart here. And though that dump today seems like it could have been very bearish because, hey, we're trading at this important horizontal resistance line and there's no way we're going to create a new macro high. Um, Even with this dump, we are perfectly testing between my two weekly trend lines that I've been pointing out for such a long time. And even for a couple weeks now, I was saying if we did break above this white line, that I was expecting us to get some sort of a bounce around in here before a real breakout. So really, technically, from a macro perspective, my opinion about this market has not changed at all. I never did catch a short today. I'm not too worried about it. I am waiting for more of a long opportunity versus playing short because, again, I am trading with more of a bullish bias right now. And honestly, guys, unless we drop below this horizontal support, which is closer down towards 8,000, like that's a totally reasonable range to be bouncing around in, guys. As well, we have already established a bit of support there on the weekly chart here on this red doji candle. So it would make sense to test that line again. And of course, I have mentioned before that if we drop this white line, that we might end up even testing the bottom of the triangle and coiling up a little more yet, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. One thing to consider from a fundamental point of view, uh, I heard Four Flies talking about this on his crypto channel, and I could not agree more. Um, where everything was too expensive, both in crypto and traditional assets, that was overpriced territory ready to have this massive dump. When the world was in a much better place than how it is right now, I mean, you can't really say fundamentally that all these companies were just profiting massively during the last few months and possibly going on to years down the road. But one thing to argue that point is that markets get very irrational because they're driven by emotion. And with a rally like this, that much of the recovery that fast after such a devastating blow and people wanting to go spend their money when they're back at work and that sort of stuff, we might get some sort of a bull flag playing out here. And you guys know that Bitcoin does often play in fractals. So let's just say that we have a bull flag here and we play out from there. Oh, sorry about that. And then let's clone that a couple times. Let's say we get a fractal, we get a bull flag, then we get a bull flag. Get one more bull flag. That's where we're starting to push that 28,000 target that I have been pointing out. And you guys know that's because of the massive triangle move. If it plays out, I want to make this very clear. I'm not saying Bitcoin is going to $28,000, but that's more if we break above this triangle and start a bit more of an actual bull market from there, which if we break above this white line here and stay above it, even if we bounce off it a couple times, if we stay above that, that's where I think we're going to be targeting closer to 28,000, and that's obviously not an overnight play. That's after more of a market cycle, like weeks or months down the road. But going back to saying, would this make any sense, or is it a healthy market? I've heard quite often that this is just not a healthy recovery, that we can't just move up that fast. But really, is this a healthy market? Is this a healthy market? Is this a healthy market? I mean, obviously not, because we did dump off very hard, but that's just showing that these things, when the emotion gets involved, there can be an emotional roller coaster, which can lead to these parabolic uh, bull markets, because the emotions run high, FOMO will kick in. If this massive pattern plays out on top of reaching all-time highs, I mean, who knows where FOMO will take this price, and that's where we get this kind of action where we get many multiples over and over in massive percentage gains. But that would happen again over time. I think bull markets usually last a couple years or longer, but I don't know. That's a little above me. I haven't looked that far into longer market cycles and that sort of stuff. I'm just looking at my basic price targets and how the market looks, and if this looks realistic that it could carry on. And I think the fact that this looks sort of like a bull flag, just like I would consider all of these just little bull flags. I mean, you see what kind of unhealthy movement can come in this market, and whether it's healthy or not, if that's where the price is going to take it and the technicals take it, then I'm going to hop on board with that. So another thing I want to point out, like let's zoom in here. If I go to the 1 hour, you can see on this momentum indicator here that the 1 hour chart bottomed right out at the very bottom that this indicator will even let me go. So it just looks like it was about time we get a good bounce. Obviously we did. And then if we zoom even further into the 15, sorry about that. Here, I want to show you this momentum indicator here again. We do have this this pinger basically just going nuts here, saying that bullish reversal is imminent here. And again, we got very close to the very bottom of how far this indicator will go. We had the big bounce. And now I want to look at a potential bit of a bull flag. It is not perfect, but there is quite a few touch points here. We do have our 3 touch points along the top. We have our 2 touch points along the bottom. That's technically how I play my triangles. The only thing I don't like is how this one happened so fast. I would have liked it to be drawn out a little longer with bigger spaces between the touch points. But all in all, it looks like that could potentially be a triangle pattern playing out here, and with consolidating on top of it after breaking out. So really, if you were to play that and look for some profit taking points, you can see I have this yellow downtrend line coming. Starts, oh sorry about that, that's annoying, but it starts at this green candle here on the wick, touches down to this candle at the very top, and extend from there. And then I have this red line extending from this wick, this green wick, and down from there. And one thing I want to point out with the possibility of this being a bull flag here is if we take our measured move from our breakout point, we're basically testing the bottom of this purple resistance line, which was support right before we crashed real hard there. So it would even make sense, maybe we don't start setting new highs yet, but we could have this potential bull flag starting to form some sort of a reversal. I think if we do, let's say we don't even respect this as resistance for long and we get above it, I think at that point we can start looking at this sell-off being a bit of a fake out, and the bullish momentum that I've been predicting for the last little while may continue on. So we're going to have to see how this pattern plays out here. Also on this indicator here, it has flipped from red to green, holding above the RSI support there, treating it as support. I can't tell you exactly how this indicator works, but basically this line here is resistance or support. It's basically a beefed up RSI is kind of what I describe it as, but anyways, it is trying to hold as support right now on top of this potential bull flag, so there's definitely potential here. So we're going to have to see how that plays out. But anyways, guys, that's just a few things I wanted to throw on your radar, and just to keep a level head about the sell-off that just happened. It doesn't necessarily have to be all doom and gloom as it looks, and as people are getting quite bearish today. It seems like it would catch a lot of people off guard if we had an instant reversal and kept that potential massive bullish triangle play out. I think it would totally just catch everyone off guard, and that's why I think it's actually quite likely. So, anyways, guys, with that, if you could leave a thumbs up, a comment, subscribe if you haven't. Um, Let me know what you like or what you dislike about the channel. Obviously, none of it is financial advice. Always do your own research. These are high risk markets. And with that, I am out. Peace.